Hey, what's going on everybody? My name is Tatro here for ADSR, and today we're working in partnership with Serato to show off the music making process in Serato Studio. We've done a few other music making tutorials with Serato Studio already, and today we're going to be focusing on how to create some of the most popular rhythms for producers within Serato Studio. If you like what you see from the workflow in the software of this video, you should check the link in the description because there's a free offer from Serato and ADSR where you can get a free version of Serato Studio and get working yourself and even follow along with this tutorial. So without further ado, let's get into breaking down some of these beats and rhythms in Serato Studio. All right, a couple important things to note when programming rhythms in Serato Studio. First of all, the notes of the drum kit are all mapped to our controller the same way the notes of a piano would be. All of them mapped chromatically on keys and then also on pads. Even more convenient, just like when we play melodies or harmonic instruments, we have access to the sounds on our QWERTY keyboard on the number row. That is also to say, we can use the grid on this step sequencer, which we'll definitely get into using today. And the first feel I want to tackle here is a dancehall feel. Two important things when creating a specific genre when it comes to drums. A, the tempo, and B, the sound selection. So for dancehall, it can be anywhere between 80 and 120 BPM, depending on how fast of a track you want. We're going to go with 90 BPM for the feel of this track today. And in terms of sounds, Serato Studio has a bunch of drum kits here. And when I think dancehall, I think a combination of some softer, subtle electronic sounds combined with some more acoustic drum sounds. So I want to find a bass kit that has some sounds that I really like, and then maybe swap out the samples that don't fit the genre so much. Let's go through here. Live Break Kit might have some good acoustic drums in it. Let's drop that in. I really love this clap sound. So I think I want to keep that. I think that kick sound could work, but let's actually see if we can find a heavier one in one shots. Now I want something that has a heavy bottom to it, but isn't too punchy and isn't too clean. I think this kick from Decap will work well. And I think probably our closed hi-hat sound needs to be a little bit closer to a trap hi-hat sound, a very clean, closed, short sound. So let's type in hi-hat, searching through one shots right now. Again, not looking at a whole new kit, we're just looking at particular sounds. That works fine. Let's drop that in on closed hi-hat. And we could probably swap out that open hi-hat for something a little bit better. Let's search the word open. That one will work just fine. All right, so I think that will work for our groove here. Now, Serato Studio has this really great feature that we're going to use as we build these different elements of drums and rhythm. So we don't even have to start by finger drumming. We can actually start by generating a rhythm that's in the genre we want to work in. So if we use this drop-down menu, you can see the list of genres. And when we select our genre and we click that button, it actually generates a rhythm for us. And if we continue to click that, it'll generate new rhythms for us. Now, that rhythm isn't so bad. I do want to make a couple tweaks. I don't think that this sample in the kit necessarily makes sense, so I'm going to get rid of that hit there. And could we put in some open hi-hats? Maybe here. Okay, that's already sounding pretty good. Now this is just a 1-bar loop. If I double this, we'll get a 2-bar loop. And now we can actually vary these patterns. So here's the first bar. So maybe let's add a hi-hat stutter at the beginning of this. We can do that by, clicking in and adding some hi-hat notes. Let's loop the second bar here. But what if I want the rate of those hi-hats to be twice as fast? Well, we don't have to stick to just this grid. By the way, I'm clicking on notes to make them go away, but I can hit the times 2 button, and that doubles the rate of the grid here. So let's see what this little stutter sounds like. Great. So now if I continue on and I double that again, you'll notice that it's doubled the pattern so that the first bar and the third bar are the same. The second and the fourth bar are the same. Very handy. And it's simple like that. As you start to build sections, so for instance, let's go ahead and copy this intro section to another scene. Now for this second scene, I could generate a new rhythm. And you can see that since we were using a 4-bar phrase from the start, unlike before when we were just working in a 1-bar generated phrase, it actually generated a whole rhythm that varies across the 4 bars and even has a little fill at the end. And I think that works really well. One important thing to note here is that we went from having more scattered hi-hats in this first pattern, more sparse, and then in the second pattern that it generated, this is very key to a lot of different kinds of music that are influenced by trap or hip hop, but we got a more steady hi-hat feel, which drives the track forward a bit more. Let's also notice the fill at the end here on the 4th bar, something you can carry through in your rhythms when you're writing rhythms. There's a little fill on the 3rd and 4th beats of the 4th bar. The kick plays on the downbeat, but then drops out for the rest of those 2 bars. And then we have a featured little percussion hit and snare, playing a rhythm that we haven't heard yet to lead into the next downbeat. All right, now let's go for it and focus on trap beats. So again, tempo and sound selection are very important. I'm going to up the tempo to 170 BPM for this track. And let's go ahead and look at the drum kits again in Serato Studio and see if we've got a straight up trap kit that we can just use here. Studio Trap Drum Kit. Let's see what it sounds like. Definitely has some unique samples in it, but I think we can make it work. All right, that'll work. So let's again use this feature here where we can find trap as our genre and generate a rhythm. This is a very, very basic rhythm, so let's just break it down real quick. Let's focus on where those snares, and it's combined with the clap, where both of those hit. 1, 2, 3, 4. Turn the metronome on. So a very basic steady rhythm is 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Noticing that I'm hitting on the 2 and 4, these notes right there. And the kick is always on the downbeat. Now, of course, in this pattern that we've generated, we fit some kicks in between that gives us that groove. One very common thing in trap is to have very steady hi-hats, which we can easily go ahead and program. Go into closed hi-hats and let's draw in these notes. We can actually just click and drag. This might be too fast. I would say that double rate is not really what we want. We want half of that. So let's go ahead and just take out every other note here. Good, and let's get that programmed in here for that next bar. something very similar to what we did in the dance hall beat is we can double and we can make these little stutters happen in our hi-hats. Very common in trap music. Another thing you'll notice is a little 3 button. That actually gives us access to a triplet grid, which will add a little bit more groove, which we can probably apply here to our hi-hats. Let's add it to the end here. Let's generate one more trap rhythm. So you can see that generating one more rhythm, it actually did generate some hi-hat stutters for us, and it also applied that nice long kick on the downbeat, which sounds epic for trap music. Kept that clap and snare on the 2 and 4 as well. All right, for the last beat, let's do a good old-fashioned lo-fi hip-hop beat. Tempo and sound selection are important. We're bringing this tempo down to 70 ppm. It's like a nice slow tempo for this genre. And then I've also built a kit of some mostly acoustic, but also somewhat dirty sounding sounds. So the whole point of lo-fi is low fidelity samples and sounds. And if you have sounds that are almost sound like they were recorded maybe with a phone or with a really cheap microphone, but they do live in that acoustic, halfway electronic world. Main elements that we're going to be using here are kick, snare, closed hi-hat, and open hi-hat. All right, so let's do a very, very basic lo-fi hip-hop beat. Okay, so that's a very basic rhythm we have here. And I did it as a 2-bar phrase, but let's go ahead and extend that to be a 4-bar phrase. And as you can see, we're using some of the very same elements that we use in these other genres. A steady hi-hat feel on 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and a kick drum that's hitting those downbeats 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. And then a snare on 2 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. So very, very basic here. The other thing I've added was replacing one of these closed hi-hats with an open hi-hat, usually leading into a snare hit. 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3 and 4. 1 and 2, 3 and 1 and 2, 3 and 4. It's worth noting that we get a little help from Serato Studio too, because it's automatically quantizing our notes. Now, if you didn't want things to be so quantized, you could go ahead and turn that off, but I like having that little bit of help. One element we haven't talked about is velocity, and that's how hard you hit the note or how soft. And you can create a different kind of sound by adjusting the velocity of your notes by either playing them live, hard or soft. Or we can adjust per note. So I can hold command and drag down on these notes here to either lower or heighten the velocity. So I might want some of these notes to not come in so hot, especially this open hi-hat. You can hear the difference there, right? One more thing to talk about is how effects can affect the sound of your drums and can actually really add to the genre that you're playing in. So I've got a low pass filter here in the effects of the drum kit. What is a low pass filter? It's here under EQ. And it kind of does what it says it does. It filters out high frequencies, only allowing the low frequencies to pass to a certain degree. Right now it's not engaged, but as I turn up the knob, less and less high frequencies will come through. Now, since this is lo-fi, it's supposed to sound a little bit rounded off on the highs. It's supposed to sound a little bit low quality. So rolling off those highs with this low pass filter subtly, I would say, makes a big difference for the feel of the drums. All right, I hope you found this tutorial helpful in breaking down some of the common rhythms, most popular rhythms that music producers should really know, and creating them in Serato Studio. Check out one of our other tutorials working in Serato Studio. And for now, my name is Tatro here for ADSR. Have a good one.